Before the story begins, take a moment to let your body rest. Gently close your eyes. If you wish, breathe in, slowly, deeply, and as you breathe out, feel the day fade away like ink dissolving in water. Your shoulders soften, your hands unclench, your jaw loosens, and the tiny muscles around your eyes relax. With every breath, you feel heavier and lighter at the same time, your body resting, your mind floating. Now, imagine you are standing at the edge of an old stone road, smooth and cool beneath your feet. The evening sun is slipping down behind distant mountains, painting the world in soft gold and honey. You are far from noise, far from hurry, far from the ticking of time. Before you lies a valley filled with mist, not the kind that hides things, but the kind that glows. The air hums with a gentle energy, as though the earth itself is whispering a lullaby. In the distance, faint bells ring, not sharp or loud, but soft and rounded, like water droplets hitting silver bowls. And you know somehow that this sound marks the edge of a very unusual city. They call it Somnolencia, the city of mid-sentence naps. No one quite remembers who built it or when. Its history drifts like dream fragments, but every traveler who's ever arrived says the same thing, that once you walk through its gates, something inside you changes. The air is so calm, so soothing, that words themselves seem to grow drowsy. People here rarely finish their sentences, not because they forget, but because somewhere between one word and the next, they fall asleep. You take your first step down the sloping path that leads toward the city. The cobblestones are warm from the sun, and small tufts of moss grow in the cracks, soft as velvet. Along the way, sleepy flowers open their pale petals, blossoms of silver and pale blue that release a faint scent of lavender and warm bread. Fireflies drift lazily above the ground, glowing not in flickers, but in a slow, steady pulse, as if breathing. A gentle breeze moves through the valley, brushing your cheek like a cat's tail. It carries the faint murmur of voices, laughter, maybe, but stretched thin and slow, as though underwater. There's no rush here. Even the air refuses to hurry. As you walk closer, the gates of Somnolencia come into view. They aren't grand or guarded. They're made of willow branches woven together, their tips swaying gently like they might wave you inside. At their base sits an old man wearing a hat that looks too big for his head. He's leaning against a crooked signpost, eyes half closed, a cup of steaming tea balanced perfectly on his knee. When you approach, he doesn't startle. He opens one eye, gives a slow, contented smile, and says, "Ah, another traveler. Come to rest your thoughts, have you?" His voice is warm, the kind that sounds like it's been dipped in honey. He gestures toward the gate. "You're welcome here. Just remember, don't fight the drowsiness. It's how the city says hello." You thank him softly, though you feel your words drifting slower than usual. Even your thoughts start to loosen around the edges. The sound of the old man's voice lingers, blending into the breeze, and then fades entirely. Inside the city, narrow lanes wind between small stone cottages with crooked chimneys and round windows. Lanterns sway gently from the eaves, glowing with the kind of golden light that only exists at the very end of sunset. Cats sleep on windowsills. A baker's shop spills the smell of cinnamon and milk into the street. Somewhere, a harp is being played slowly, absent-mindedly, a tune that has no beginning or end. You pass a group of people, sitting on benches beside a fountain. The water trickles quietly, its sound blending with the rhythmic breathing of those who've already nodded off mid-conversation. One woman holds a teacup frozen halfway to her lips. Another man sits cross-legged, head tilted to one side, mouth curved in a faint smile. Even the pigeons seem to nap mid-flight, hovering briefly before gently gliding down onto the cobblestones. The deeper you wander, the softer everything becomes. Your steps make no sound. Your heartbeat slows to match the lazy rhythm of the place. Time stretches not endlessly, but comfortably, like lying under a quilt that smells faintly of rain and sun-warmed cotton. At the corner of a quiet street, you find a small inn called the Half-Whisper House. A wooden sign swings overhead, carved with letters that seem to shimmer as though they might drift off the wood and fall asleep too. The door creaks open before you even touch it, revealing a cozy interior filled with amber light. A woman stands behind the counter, stirring something in a pot that smells like vanilla and starlight. She looks up and smiles. Her eyes are kind and slow to blink. "Welcome, dear traveler," she says softly. "We've been expecting you." You blink, surprised. "You have?" "Of course," she says, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. "Everyone who comes here was meant to. The city calls only those who are ready to rest." She gestures toward a staircase that curls upward like a spiral of smoke. "Your room is waiting. Second door on the left. You'll find warm tea by the window and sheets that remember the shape of dreams." As you climb the stairs, each step hums faintly beneath your feet, like the vibration of a distant lullaby. The air grows warmer, heavier with comfort. When you open your door, soft light spills out, and the scent of fresh linen fills your lungs. Your room overlooks the entire city rooftops, glowing faintly beneath the rising moon. You can see the mist rolling in again, weaving between the chimneys like a sleepy spirit. In the corner of the room sits a small bed, covered in a blanket the color of honey. Next to it, a cup of steaming tea waits beside an open book. The pages turn on their own, as if the story within is too drowsy to stay still. You sink into the bed, the mattress sighing beneath you. The tea is warm and smooth, tasting faintly of chamomile and something else, something you can't quite name, but it reminds you of the feeling of being hugged. Outside, the bells ring again, slow, deep, and endlessly soothing, and as your eyes grow heavy, you hear faint voices from the streets below, unfinished sentences, trailing laughter, the sound of dreams beginning. The city hums softly, its rhythm matching your breath. You let yourself drift, just for a moment, until even your thoughts start to pause mid-sentence and float away. You wake to the sound of soft rain tapping against the window, not heavy, not cold, just the kind of rain that sounds like a lullaby played on glass. For a moment, you forget where you are. The sheets are so warm and the pillow so gentle that it feels like you might still be floating in a dream. Then, the scent of honey tea and baking bread drifts through the air, and you remember you're in Somnolencia, the city where everyone takes a nap mid-sentence. You stretch lazily, every joint humming in slow, pleasant rhythm. The window is slightly open, and through it, a misty morning unfolds, pale blue and gold. Down below, you see cobblestone streets shining with rain, and people walking beneath wide, soft umbrellas shaped like mushrooms and clouds. No one rushes. Even the rain seems to fall gently, unhurried, each droplet taking its time to reach the earth. You sip from the teacup left on your nightstand. It's still warm somehow. The taste is delicate, chamomile, rose, and a faint hint of something nostalgic, like summer peaches. As you drink, a small bird hops onto your window ledge. Its feathers are fluffy, the color of dawn mist. It tilts its head and chirps softly, not a full melody, just fragments, half-sung notes that seem to invite you to follow. You rise and dress in clothes that seem to have been waiting for you, soft linen, loose and light, smelling faintly of lavender. When you open your door, the innkeeper is already there, smiling as though she's been expecting you again. "Good morning, dear traveler," she says. Her voice sounds like warm milk being poured into tea. "You slept well, didn't you?" You nod, though sleep feels too small a word for what you experienced. It felt like you had drifted through an ocean made of dreams, every wave a whisper, every ripple a memory. She hands you a folded map, but instead of straits and buildings, it's filled with painted clouds, stars, and streams of color. "The city shifts when you're not looking," she explains gently. "This map won't tell you where things are, only where they want to be." You thank her and step outside. The rain has already slowed to a drizzle. A soft light glows through the clouds, and everything looks freshly polished. The air thick with petrichor and the faint sweetness of baked bread. You wander aimlessly, guided by the rhythm of your own footsteps. Soon, you find yourself at the entrance of a wide plaza paved with smooth white stones that reflect the sky. At its center stands a grand archway made entirely of vines and flowers. Hanging above it, in curling golden letters, is a sign, "The Dream Market." You step through the archway and into another world of calm wonder. It's a market unlike any you've ever seen, quiet, glowing, and filled with soft motion. The stalls are draped with silk canopies that shimmer like liquid moonlight. Vendors speak in hushed tones, as though afraid to wake the dreams they're selling. Everywhere you look, there's something magical, yet nothing loud or hurried. At one stall, an elderly woman with silver hair sells jars filled with captured sighs, each one glowing faintly blue, swirling like mist. "Good for restless nights," she whispers. "Open one beside your bed, and it'll breathe you to sleep." Next to her, a young man tends to a table of bottled scents. Each has a handwritten label, "The First Rain After Summer," pages of an old library, a cat sleeping on a windowsill. He uncorks one for you to smell, and instantly you're carried somewhere else to a quiet corner filled with soft lamplight and the faint sound of rustling pages. You smile, and the vendor nods knowingly. "No rush," he says. "Dreams wait for you here." As you stroll deeper into the market, you hear the faint strumming of a lute, slow, repetitive, like the plucking of heartstrings. A musician sits beneath a canopy of ivy, eyes closed, letting his fingers drift across the strings without effort. Around him, the air glows faintly gold, and people sit nearby, nodding off mid-listen, smiles half-formed on their lips. You wander from stall to stall, past a baker selling crescent-shaped pastries, dusted with sugar that tastes like starlight, past a tailor stitching garments out of morning mist, past a painter whose brush never quite touches the canvas, yet color blooms beneath it anyway. And then, at the far end of the plaza, you see a curious sight, a small stall with no goods at all, only a single wooden chair and a sign that reads, "Lost Dreams Restored." A gentle woman sits behind the table, her hair the color of candle smoke. When you approach, She looks at you with eyes that seem to hold 1,000 quiet mornings. Without asking, she gestures for you to sit. You do. Close your eyes, she says softly. Her voice feels like a lullaby you've forgotten, but somehow still remember. Now, think of something you once wished for, but let drift away. You obey. You think of something small, a dream that faded in the noise of life. Maybe it was a promise to rest more. Maybe it was the wish to simply feel peace again. As you sit there, eyes closed, the woman hums quietly. The hum vibrates through the chair, through your skin, through your breath, and for a brief, timeless moment, you feel that old wish again, whole, unbroken, and resting gently in your hands. When you open your eyes, she smiles. There, she says, it's never gone, just sleeping. She reaches across the table and presses something small and warm into your palm, a smooth stone, pale as cream. Keep it close, she murmurs. It will remind you to pause mid-sentence once in a while. You thank her and step away, clutching the stone. It's oddly warm, like it's been sitting in sunlight. You tuck it into your pocket, and as you continue walking, the air seems even softer, the colors even calmer. The rain has stopped now. The clouds part, revealing slivers of blue sky, and golden light spills over the market. People yawn contentedly. Vendors lean against their stalls. The musician strums one last note, and everything dissolves into a shared sigh of contentment. You wander to the edge of the plaza, where a narrow bridge crosses a quiet stream. The water below reflects the clouds so perfectly that you're not sure if it's sky or river. You lean on the railing, feeling the warm stone in your palm pulse softly 1, 2, 3, like a heartbeat at rest. The city hums behind you, and the world seems to hold its breath. Even the breeze feels sleepy, curling around your shoulders like a shawl. You stay there a long time, not thinking, not speaking, just existing in the peaceful stillness of a place that never hurries. Somewhere nearby, a bell rings slow, deep, and low. You know that sound. It's the same one you heard when you first arrived, but this time, it feels even closer, as if it's calling you deeper into the dream. And so, you follow. The bridge leads into a winding lane of golden light, where the air smells faintly of baked pears and drifting smoke. And as you walk, you realize that the city has begun to change again, the mist curling in new directions, the sounds softening until even the rain's memory disappears. The path ahead grows brighter, warmer, and the whisper of sleep drifts closer, waiting to wrap you in its arms once more. You follow the golden path as it winds away from the market, its cobblestones glowing faintly under your feet. The mist has lifted, leaving behind a cool, sweet air filled with the smell of wet stone, baked pears, and distant incense. Every sound seems softened, the faint echo of footsteps, the rustle of leaves, the sleepy coo of a dove perched somewhere above. As you walk, the stone in your pocket grows warm again, pulsing gently, guiding you onward. Before long, you come upon a tall archway carved into the side of a hill. It looks ancient, but a live ivy spilling over its edges, flowers blooming between the cracks. Above the entrance, engraved in curling letters of pale gold, are the words, "The Library of Unfinished Sentences." You pause, tracing the words with your eyes. The door is open just a crack, and from within spills a dim, amber glow. When you step inside, the air feels thick and comforting, like the inside of a wool blanket. Dust motes drift lazily through sunbeams, and the faint scent of old paper mingles with something sweeter like honey melting on warm toast. The library stretches far beyond what the small doorway suggested. Rows and rows of shelves curve upward and outward, spiraling toward a high domed ceiling painted with faint stars. Every shelf is filled not just with books, but with scrolls, letters, and even floating pieces of parchment that sway gently as if breathing. You take a few steps in, and your footsteps echo softly on the stone floor. Somewhere deep within the library, a quill scratches. It sounds like a heartbeat written in ink. At a nearby table sits a librarian, or perhaps a guardian, a tall, quiet figure with round glasses that magnify the warm brown of his eyes. He's writing something in an enormous ledger, though his movements are unhurried, almost dreamlike. When you approach, he looks up and smiles, the lines on his face deepening like creases in old parchment. "Welcome," he murmurs, his voice slow and deep, like rain rolling through a cave. "You found the library of all the words that were never finished." He stir us around. All the things left unsaid, the thoughts paused halfway, the letters stopped mid-sentence because their writers fell asleep, or sighed, or smiled instead. You look around again, the shelves seem to hum faintly, each holding its own rhythm. Some books are open, their sentences trailing off with a single long dash. Others seem to glow faintly, where the words stop. "Can I read them?" you ask quietly. The librarian nods. "Of course, but be gentle, some are still dreaming of their endings." You wander down an aisle, your fingers brushing the spines. One book, bound in soft blue leather, catches your eye. Its title reads, "Letters to the Sky." When you open it, the pages whisper against each other like sighs. The first line reads, "If the stars ever grow tired of shining, I would," and then it stops. No more words follow, but as you read the line again, slowly, your mind begins to imagine how it might end. "Maybe I would shine for them, or I would sing them to sleep, or I would let them rest in my hands." You close the book gently, smiling. You realize the library isn't sad at all, it's peaceful. Each unfinished sentence feels like a deep breath that never needed to end. You wander further. On a table nearby sits a collection of glass jars, each holding a small wisp of ink swirling in air. A label reads, "Words that drifted away mid-dream." Inside one, you see faint letters forming and fading home. Warmth, light, you. "Do people come here often?" you ask, turning to the librarian. "Only those who listen," he replies, closing his ledger. Somnolencia keeps its quiet places hidden from hurry. This library is one of them. Some travelers come to finish their own sentences. Others simply come to rest between them. He rises from his desk, his robes whispering softly against the floor. "Would you like to hear one of the city's oldest sentences?" You nod. He leads you through winding corridors, past tables stacked with dreams bound in string, until you reach a vast circular chamber. In the center stands a pedestal, and upon it a book the size of a doorway, bound in deep green velvet. Golden words shimmer faintly across the open pages. "This," the librarian says, his voice now little more than a breath, "is the Somnolent Chronicle. It records the city's story and the dream that built it." You step closer. The letters move like gentle waves, forming and reforming themselves. You read aloud softly, reverently. "In the beginning, there was a hush so deep that even the stars leaned closer to listen, and from that hush came a single sigh, which settled into the valley and became the city of sleep. The words fade mid-line, but you feel them continue in your chest, like the story is finishing itself quietly within your heart. When you look back, the librarian is smiling, eyes half closed. "You see," he murmurs, "some stories don't need endings. They just rest." You close the great book gently, feeling the fabric cool under your hands. Then, as you step back, you notice something new, a small table near the doorway, with a blank page and a quill resting in an inkpot. A little sign reads, "Leave what you wish to pause." You sit for a long while. You think about all the words you've said and all the ones you've left behind, the moments between thoughts, the quiet between breaths, the peacefulness of being unfinished. And then you dip the quill into the ink and write a single line. "Tonight, I'll rest before the next word comes." You leave the page open and rise, feeling lighter. When you glance back, the ink glows briefly, then slowly fades into the parchment, joining the whispers of thousands of other half-dreamed words. As you leave the library, the doors sigh softly behind you. Outside, the rain has stopped completely, and a silvery light glows along the rooftops. A new breeze moves through the city, soft, deliberate, carrying the faint scent of chamomile and sleep. You follow it. Somewhere ahead, a river glistens under moonlight, curving through the heart of Somnolencia like a silver ribbon. The librarian's words echo faintly. In your mind, some stories just rest. And perhaps you think that's exactly what you're meant to do next. You take a deep, unhurried breath. The world feels quiet again, perfectly still, perfectly soft, as you walk toward the river where another dream surely waits to begin. The path toward the river is gentle and winding, following the curve of Somnolencia's sleeping heart. The city seems to hush itself as you pass lanterns dimming, doorways whispering closed, leaves rustling only enough to sing faint lullabies to the wind. You can hear it now, the river, a slow, musical murmur, like someone breathing beside you, calm and steady. As you near the water, the air cools, carrying the scent of moss and jasmine. The cobblestones beneath your feet grow smooth, as if polished by centuries of wandering souls who came here simply to pause. The mist glows silver in the moonlight, rolling like silk over the water's surface. Somewhere far upstream, a bell chimes once long and low, the sound stretching across the valley until it dissolves into the hush of the river. You reach a small wooden bridge, arched over the current. It creaks softly when you step onto it, and you pause halfway, leaning on the railing. The river is clear, not just transparent, but alive with light. You can see reflections not only of the moon and stars, but of faces, places, and soft fragments of dreams drifting just beneath the surface. A child laughing in slow motion, a field of tall grass bowing to invisible wind, a candle melting into twilight. This, you realize, must be the river of restful echoes, the place where the city's dreams go to rest after being spoken, half said, or softly forgotten. The water hums faintly. When you lean closer, you hear voices, not distinct words, but soothing tones of comfort, like every lullaby you've ever half heard. Each sound overlaps gently, creating a tapestry of murmurs so calming that you feel your body responding instinctively, shoulders dropping, breath deepening, heartbeat slowing. From the far side of the river, a figure waves to you. At first, you think it's a trick of light, but then you see her clearly, a woman in a long flowing robe, the color of pearl gray dawn. Her hair drifts as if underwater, and tiny motes of light hover around her like fireflies caught in moonbeams. She stands on the opposite bank, beside a wooden boat that rocks gently in the current. When you cross the bridge and approach, she smiles, and her voice reaches you as if carried on the wind. "Traveler," she says softly, "you've come far through words and dreams. Would you like to see where they go when they rest?" You nod, feeling the warmth of curiosity, gentle, unhurried curiosity stirring within you. She gestures for you to step into the boat. It's made of pale wood and lined with soft woven reeds that feel like pillows under your hands. The woman pushes away from shore, and the boat glides soundlessly into the current. The river carries you forward with almost no motion. The sensation is of floating through silk. You look up and see that the stars above are mirrored perfectly below, so that for a moment you can't tell where sky ends and water begins. The air smells faintly of rain and sugar. Somewhere nearby, a night bird calls once, then falls silent again, as if too sleepy to finish its song. The woman, the ferryman, perhaps dips her hand into the water, and ripples of light spread outward. Tiny glowing shapes rise from the surface, hovering over the river like bubbles. Each one contains a soft, flickering image, a memory, a word, a sigh, a dream. They drift past you, slow and luminous. You watch them with quiet awe. In one, you see an elderly man smiling as he falls asleep by a fireplace. In another, a small cat curls on a stack of books, purring softly. Others hold images less clear, a hand reaching for another, a flower opening in moonlight, a single raindrop hanging forever mid-fall. They're the city's echoes, the woman explains, her voice like soft rain. Every time someone falls asleep mid-sentence, their last thought, their last word, floats here for a while before dissolving into calm. You lean closer, watching one of the bubbles drift beside the boat. It flickers gently, and for a moment you see your own reflection inside it, eyes half closed, lips forming a word that never quite leaves them. "Do they ever return?" you ask quietly. The ferryman smiles. "When the same soul needs them again," she says, "the river sends them back. Some come back as dreams, some as songs, some as a feeling you can't explain. Just before you fall asleep, you nod slowly. It makes sense here. Everything does." The boat drifts into a wider part of the river, where the current slows to near stillness. The stars above seem closer now, their light shimmering on the water like a blanket of silver threads. The ferryman hums softly, not a song, but a kind of rhythm, the pulse of sleep itself. It seeps into your mind, soothing every corner of thought, until all that remains is the sensation of floating, breathing, existing. You look down again at the river, and the reflections blur, stars becoming candlelight, candlelight becoming faces, faces becoming soft shapes that fade into color and light. It feels as though you're watching the slow heartbeat of the world. At last, the boat drifts toward a willow-lined shore. The branches hang low, their tips brushing the water's surface, trailing silver dew that sparkles like falling stars. The ferryman anchors the boat against a post carved with spirals and sigils you don't recognize. "This is the halfway point," she says gently. "From here the river divides. One path flows toward dreams, the other toward waking. Only those who listen carefully can hear which one calls to them." You step onto the shore, your feet sinking slightly into the moss. The air hums deep, low, comforting. Somewhere far off, you hear laughter slow and soft, the kind that comes from pure peace. Before you can thank her, you turn, and the ferryman is gone. The boat drifts back into the mist, glowing faintly as it fades from sight. Only her voice remains, echoing gently over the water. When you're ready to rest again, follow the sound that pauses between heartbeats. You stand there for a while, surrounded by whispering willows. The leaves sway, brushing your shoulders like old friends, and you realize that the river's song hasn't faded. It's simply slowed, pulsing with the same rhythm as your breath. Beyond the trees, a soft path leads upward toward the hills. Lanterns float in the air, their flames flickering like sleepy eyes. Somewhere up ahead, you see faint light spilling from windows, maybe a cottage, maybe another dream. You take a step forward, then another, your mind quiet, your heart slow. Each sound around you, the rustle of leaves, the river's murmur, the far-off ringing of a bell, seems to blend into one long exhale, and in that exhale, you feel yourself carried again, as if the city itself is tucking you deeper into its endless rest. The soft path winds upward through the willow grove, each step guided by the warm glow of drifting lanterns. They float like lazy fireflies, slow, golden, and calm, swaying gently in rhythm with the night's quiet breathing. Every so often, one drifts close enough that you can feel its warmth against your skin. It isn't heat, exactly. It's more like the feeling of being remembered by something kind. The moss beneath your feet feels springy, cool, and fragrant with dew. Above, the stars shimmer faintly through the thin veil of mist. As you climb higher, the whisper of the river fades behind you, replaced by the steady hum of nighttime insects, singing their gentle, endless lullaby. Eventually, the trees part, and you find yourself on a wide hillside that slopes softly down toward the distant rooftops of Somnolencia. The city glows below like an island of lanterns floating in mist. Its chimneys send ribbons of pale smoke curling upward, dissolving into the sky like sleepy sighs. 1,000 warm windows flicker, each a story, each a dream in progress. You pause for a moment to take it in the stillness, the harmony of everything at rest. There is no rush here, no sharpness, no edges. The world feels round and slow and perfectly safe. Then you notice a small shape nestled among the hill's folds, a little cottage with a thatched roof and round windows glowing softly from within. A wooden fence encircles it, and in the garden beyond, silver-leafed plants sway gently, each one releasing faint sparkles of light, like tiny stars escaping from the soil. You follow the narrow path that leads to its door. As you approach, you hear a faint humming from inside a melody, so soft you can't tell if it's being sung or simply dreamt. When you reach the door, it creaks open by itself, as though inviting you in. Inside, everything glows with the warmth of honey and candlelight. The walls are lined with books and jars, some filled with herbs, some with glittering dust that moves as if alive. A kettle hums quietly on the hearth, steam curling lazily upward in the shape of tiny clouds. The air smells of cinnamon, wood smoke, and something faintly floral, like night-blooming jasmine. At a small wooden table sits a woman, knitting something soft and white. Her hair is the color of moonlight, tied loosely at the back with a ribbon of blue silk. When she looks up, her eyes seem to reflect the same calm glow as the lanterns outside. "Ah," she says, her voice as gentle as the rustle of wool. You've come from the river. I could feel its hum still following you. You nod, stepping inside, feeling instantly at home as though this cottage has been waiting for you long before you arrived. Please, sit, she says, gesturing toward a chair beside the fire. You look like someone who has been carrying thoughts that need to nap. You smile at that. It's true, though you hadn't realized it until she said so. You sit, and the chair seems to sigh softly beneath your weight, as if pleased to hold you. The woman pours tea from a small clay pot into 2 cups. The steam curls upward in slow spirals, carrying with it the scent of honey, vanilla, and roasted chestnuts. As you lift the cup, you notice that the liquid shimmers faintly, like moonlight caught in motion. When you take a sip, the taste is impossibly comforting, familiar, and strange at once, like a memory of warmth. She knits quietly for a moment, and then she says, "Do you know why everyone in this city naps mid-sentence?" You shake your head. She smiles softly. Because somewhere long ago, the people here learned that not every thought needs to finish to be complete. They found that rest is not an interruption of life, but part of its rhythm. And so, they built a city where silence and pause are sacred, where words can sleep and wake whenever they wish. Her hands move slowly as she knits, the click of the needles keeping time with her voice. Outside, the wind picks up gently, brushing against the cottage walls in long, steady sighs. Even dreams, she continues, must sleep between dreams. Even hearts must rest between beats. Somnolencia is a place that remembers what the waking world forgets, that there is peace in not rushing to the end. You look into your cup, watching the tiny reflections of the fire dance upon the surface. Each flicker looks like a heartbeat, soft and alive. You feel your thoughts slow, not from fatigue, but from understanding. Will I stay here? You ask quietly. The woman sets her knitting aside and leans forward, her eyes filled with something ancient and kind. For a while, she says, long enough to remember what it feels like to rest without guilt. Her words settle into the room like falling feathers. You glance around again, the books, the jars, the warm glow of the fire, and realize there's not a single clock in sight. Time here has given up counting. The woman rises and takes a small jar from a shelf. Inside it, faint blue light swirls lazily like captured moonlight. She hands it to you. Keep this by your bedside, she says. It will remind you to pause before sleep tries to find you. You take it carefully. It's warm to the touch, and when you hold it close to your chest, the light pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat. Outside, the rain begins again, soft, even, patient. The woman hums her quiet tune once more as she returns to her chair. You sit back, eyes half closed, feeling the rhythm of her knitting and the rain blending into one continuous song. The warmth from the fire seeps into your bones. You can feel yourself drifting, not quite asleep, but somewhere between thought and dream. Your cup grows lighter in your hand. The sound of rain deepens, and even the air seems to exhale around you. Rest, traveler, the woman murmurs, though her voice feels far away now, like a memory of sound. There's no hurry here. The next word will wait for you. You smile faintly, your eyes close, and for a moment, you forget where the story ends, or if it even needs to. There is only warmth, rain, and the hum of peace wrapping itself around you like a blanket. Outside, the lanterns sway in rhythm with your breathing. The mist curls around the cottage roof, and the hills of Somnolencia exhale together, a whole city dreaming. Mid-sentence. When you awaken, it is impossible to say whether it is morning or evening. The light that filters through the round window beside your bed has no edge, soft and golden, like sunlight and moonlight blended together. For a long moment, you simply lie there, cocooned in blankets that smell faintly of cedar and clean air. The quiet hum of the world outside seeps into your awareness, so gentle that it feels as though even the breeze is walking on tiptoe. You stretch. Your body moves like it has remembered something ancient, the art of ease. Every breath feels unhurried, like a tide coming in. The little jar of blue light the woman gave you still glows faintly on the bedside table. When you lift it, the warmth touches your palms like a small heartbeat. The swirling light inside seems slower this morning, or perhaps it's just matching your own rhythm. You dress and step outside. The air is fresh and cool. Mist clings to the grass, curling in ribbons around your ankles. The cottage sits on the edge of a meadow that hums softly with life bees drowsing in flowers, crickets singing in half tempo, leaves turning gently in the soft wind. The woman is already outside, tending to her garden. She is kneeling beside a bed of plants, unlike any you've ever seen. Their leaves glimmer like silver glass, and their petals open and close with the rhythm of breathing. When she sees you, she smiles, tucking a strand of moon-colored hair behind her ear. "Good morning," she says, though the words sound less like a greeting and more like a gentle observation of the moment. "Did the night treat you kindly?" "It did," you reply, "though I don't know if I ever stop dreaming." She chuckles softly. "Few do here. The city's air is woven with sleep. It keeps dreams close, not to trap them, but to remind us that waking and dreaming are not so different." You wander closer, kneeling beside her among the glowing plants. "What are these?" you ask, reaching out to touch one. She smiles faintly. "They're called candlelit. They bloom only when you forget what time it is." You blink, watching as one of the petals slowly unfurls before your eyes. Inside its center, light gathers like a miniature sunrise, pulsing gently with color. The flower's scent drifts upward, faint honey, fresh linen, and a hint of something nostalgic, like a melody you can't quite recall. She continues tending the soil, speaking in that same slow, melodic tone. "This is the garden of slow time. It's where Somnolencia keeps the hours it doesn't use." You look up. The meadow stretches beyond the cottage, filled with plants that move at different rhythms, some opening, some sleeping, some halfway between. The air hums faintly, like a chorus of invisible clocks, all ticking at their own soft pace. None of them hurry, none of them match, and yet, together, they make something beautiful, a rhythm that feels more like breathing than counting. "People come here," the woman says, "when they've forgotten how to slow down. The flowers teach them." "How?" you ask. She smiles, brushing soil from her hands. "They remind you that everything alive already knows how to rest. It's only people who forget." She hands you a small seed pod, round and pale, cool to the touch. "Plant this somewhere you'll remember to pause," she says. "It will grow best in moments you don't fill." You turn it in your fingers, feeling a pulse of warmth within, faint but steady. It feels alive, aware even. As you walk through the garden, time stretches around you like silk. Each step feels long and gentle, You pass a row of plants that shimmer blue in the light, their petals open and close as you breathe. Further on, a tree hums softly to itself, its leaves glowing like tiny lanterns. At its base lies a pool of perfectly still water, reflecting not the sky, but an image of yourself from a few moments ago, smiling faintly, still holding the seed pod. It's strange you can see yourself pausing even in reflection, like the mirror is also resting. You sit beside the pool. The sound of the woman's gardening fades behind you until only the world's slow, even breath remains. You dip your fingers into the water. It feels warm, familiar, as if it has been waiting for you. Tiny ripples spread outward, and your reflection wavers gently, replaced by scenes of the city below Somnolencia, peaceful and aglow in the endless twilight. You see the river again, the willow trees, the markets with their silken canopies, and for a moment, it feels as though the entire city is exhaling in perfect unison. A whisper drifts across the garden, not words, but feeling. It's okay to rest before the next thing begins. You let the thought sink into you, like rain into soil. The stillness deepens. The air grows warmer. Even the light seems to breathe slower. When you open your eyes again, the woman is standing nearby, holding a basket of fresh herbs. Her smile is quiet, knowing. Sometimes, she says, the world doesn't need you to finish a thought. It just wants you to sit beside it until both of you grow quiet. You nod. There's nothing more to say, not because words are missing, but because silence feels complete. Together, you walk back toward the cottage. She places her basket on the table and begins brewing something fragrant, a tea that smells of mint and soft rain. As you sip it, warmth spreads through your body like sunlight filtering into deep water. Through the window, you can see the garden glowing in the eternal twilight. The flowers open one by one, releasing little sparks that drift into the air like drowsy fireflies. They rise higher, swirling together until they fade into the clouds above, carrying their quiet lessons into the night. The woman speaks again, her voice barely more than a murmur. Somnolencia will show you many corners of rest, but remember, rest isn't something you find, it's something you allow. You nod, watching the mist roll across the garden. Every sound, every light, every breath seems to fold itself around you, drawing you gently inward. The edges of the world blur, and for a moment, it feels like even time itself has curled up somewhere nearby and fallen asleep. The next morning, or perhaps it is still the same evening, for time here folds upon itself like a soft blanket, you find yourself wandering down from the hillside once more. The path glimmers with dew, the air thick with the scent of rosemary and rain-polished stone. The mist has lifted slightly, revealing the rooftops of Somnolencia below, each one dotted with lanterns that never seem to go out. You follow the cobblestone road until you reach a small square tucked between narrow lanes. It's quiet, though not silent, the kind of calm hum that feels like a city breathing in its sleep. In the center of the square stands a tall clock tower, but its hands aren't moving. The numbers are carved from glass, and they shimmer faintly, though no hour ever passes. At the base of the tower sits a tiny workshop, its windows aglow with warm amber light. Above the door hangs a wooden sign that reads, in swirling letters, "The clockmaker who forgot the hours." You push the door open gently, and a small bell above it tinkles, not in a sharp jingle, but in a soft, echoing tone, as if even sound here prefers to wander. Inside, the shop smells of oil metal, and something faintly sweet, perhaps the lingering aroma of chamomile tea. Clocks of all shapes and sizes fill the walls. Tall grandfather clocks with carved wooden faces, pocket watches hanging from ribbons, delicate silver timepieces that tick so slowly you can barely hear them. Some clocks run backward, some have no hands at all, and some simply hum, content to be rather than to measure. Behind a workbench scattered with gears and half-open watch faces sits an elderly man with a head of wild white hair and spectacles that slide constantly down his nose. He hums as he works, his fingers moving with patient rhythm, but instead of winding clocks, he seems to be painting small dots of color on their faces, tiny constellations where numbers should be. He looks up when he hears you and smiles, eyes bright and kind. "Ah," he says slowly, as though savoring each syllable, "a traveler of the soft paths. I could hear your footsteps long before I saw you." You smile back, stepping closer. "I didn't mean to disturb you." "Nonsense," he says, waving a hand. "There's no such thing as disturbance in a place without hours." He gestures toward the clocks around the room. "Beautiful, aren't they? Not one of them knows what time it is, and yet all of them are right." You laugh softly, the sound merging into the gentle ticking that fills the air. He points to a nearby shelf where a dozen clocks are arranged in a circle. Each one has a different picture painted across its face: a moon, a bird in flight, a sleeping cat, a cup of tea. They all tick together, but not in sync. Each beat drifts slightly apart from the others until the rhythm becomes something more like music than measurement. The clockmaker notices you listening and nods. "You hear it, don't you? That's the sound of life without hurry. Every tick is a breath, every talk is a pause." You walk slowly along the shelf, listening. The clocks whisper to one another, a symphony of gentle seconds that never turn into minutes. You feel your pulse matching their uneven rhythm until it becomes impossible to tell which is which. The old man returns to his workbench and holds up a small golden pocket watch. "I used to make clocks that shouted the hours," he says, polishing the case with a soft cloth. "Loud ones, stern ones. They ruled over people's lives like little kings of brass. But one day, I realized something strange. The louder I made them, the less anyone listened. So, I began to make quieter clocks, until one day I made one that made no sound at all." He opens the watch and holds it toward you. Inside, there are no hands, only a tiny pool of light, pulsing gently, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. "It doesn't tell time," he says. "It remembers it." You stare at the light, mesmerized. The glow flickers with faint images, moments, perhaps, rather than minutes. A child laughing under rain, an old woman blowing dust from a book, a cat yawning beside a warm window. "What happens when people wear it?" you ask softly. "They stop counting," he replies. "And when they stop counting, they start noticing." He closes the watch and places it gently in your hands. It feels warm, alive, humming faintly against your skin. "You may borrow it for a while," he says, "but promise you won't rush to give it back." You nod, smiling. "I promise." As you look around the shop again, you notice a peculiar clock hanging above the door, a grand, ornate piece of golden wood, but instead of numbers, its face has 12 sleeping cats, curled in a circle. Their tails twitch lazily in rhythm, and as they breathe, The minute hand, a single silver feather, drifts slowly across the dial. It moves so gently that it might take a lifetime to complete one circle. The clockmaker follows your gaze and chuckles softly. "That one's my masterpiece," he says, "the cat of hours." It purrs instead of ticking. When it finishes one full turn, it's said the world will take a nap. You grin. "Has it ever finished?" "Almost," he says. But then someone always yawns and resets it. You both laugh quietly, the sound blending into the gentle ticking of the room. Then his expression softens and his voice becomes a whisper. "Somnolencia isn't just a city, you know. It's a promise we made to ourselves that time would never again be our master. Here, every moment is a cushion to rest on, not a step to climb." He rises slowly and opens the door, letting in a warm breeze that carries the scent of fresh rain and distant bells. "Go on, traveler," he says kindly. "Follow the sound between seconds. You'll find what comes next when it's ready to be found." You thank him, slipping the golden watch into your pocket beside the stone you still carry from the dream market. As you step outside, the air hums with quiet energy. The tower clock above you gives one deep, slow tick, perhaps the only one it's given in years. Then silence again, soft and golden. You walk through the square, feeling the pulse of the watch in your pocket. Each step falls in rhythm, with it not time passing, but time breathing. The streets of Somnolencia stretch before you, calm and endless, the lanterns swaying like stars half asleep, and you, too, begin to feel drowsy, not tired, but peacefully weightless, as though you could drift off mid-thought, and the city itself would finish your dreams for you. The streets of Somnolencia lead you onward, like a quiet current, the faint pulse of the golden watch in your pocket, keeping time with your steps. The sky above has softened into a shade that isn't quite day, yet not fully night, the kind of timeless glow that the city wears so naturally. You walk past windows lined with sleeping cats, through courtyards fragrant with jasmine, until the scent of roasted coffee and vanilla drifts to you on the breeze. You follow it, turning a corner, and there it is, a small cafe tucked between two ivy-covered bookshops, its sign carved in curling letters that shimmer like starlight. The cafe that never closed. A soft, tinkling bell greets you as you step inside. The air is thick with warmth, the comforting scent of roasted beans, brown sugar, and rain-soaked wood. Everything inside glows in muted amber light. Candles burn low on every table, their flames flickering like they too are about to nap. In one corner, a record player hums softly, spinning a tune so slow and smooth that it feels less like music and more like breathing. Behind the counter stands a man in a soft brown apron, polishing a mug with a cloth that seems older than time. He looks up and smiles, his eyes creasing into friendly half moons. "Welcome, traveler," he says, his voice deep and calm. "You found us in the in-between hours." You glance around. There are a few patrons scattered about, a woman reading a book with her chin resting in her hand, an elderly couple sharing a slice of cake but forgetting to finish it, and a cat curled up in an empty chair, its tail flicking in slow rhythm with the music. "I didn't know what time it was," you admit. The man chuckles softly. "Perfect. That's the only way to arrive here. If you know the hour, the door won't open." He gestures toward the menu written in chalk on the wall. It lists drinks with names that sound more like lullabies than recipes. Moonlit latte, the drowsy dreamer, caramel cloud, chamomile cappuccino, half-whisper hot chocolate. You order the moonlit latte, and he nods approvingly. Good choice. It's made from beans that were roasted while the moon yawned. You sit by the window as he prepares your drink, the sound of milk steaming and the faint clink of a spoon filling the cozy silence. Outside, the city seems to slow even further, lanterns swaying lazily, mist curling through alleys like smoke from a dream. When the cup arrives, you notice how the foam forms tiny, swirling constellations that shimmer faintly. You take a sip. It's warm, creamy, and smooth, with just a whisper of honey and something floral, perhaps lavender. The flavor feels like it was brewed from comfort itself. The barista leans on the counter and says quietly, "Every drink here tastes different depending on how you're feeling. The city changes the flavor for you." You smile. "Then it must know I needed calm." He nods. "It always does." For a while, you simply sit and listen. The music blends with the soft murmur of conversation, the purring of the cat, the occasional sound of rain against the window. Each sound feels deliberate, as though carefully placed not to fill silence, but to shape it. After some time, the barista brings over a small plate with a single pastry shaped like a crescent moon. "It's on the house," he says. "We make them from dough that's left to rise until it dreams." You break it open. Steam curls upward, carrying a scent of vanilla and almonds. The inside is so light it almost disappears when it touches your tongue. As you eat, your eyes drift to a large grandfather clock in the corner. Its pendulum swings, but the hands never move. When you point it out, the barista smiles faintly. "That clock doesn't measure hours," he explains. "It measures stillness. The longer it stands untouched, the slower it swings. And when it stops completely, that means everyone in the cafe has finally stopped thinking about time." You look around again. The woman at the next table has fallen asleep over her book. The elderly couple are holding hands mid-sentence. The cat's tail no longer moves. Even the record player hums more softly, the song melting into a single note that lingers in the air like fog. "Does anyone ever leave?" you ask quietly. The barista tilts his head thoughtfully. "Eventually," he says, "but only when they've rested enough to carry a bit of somnolencia inside them." He nods towards your pocket. You've already started collecting it. The stone, the watch, the seed. The city's gifts come when you're ready for them. You touch the pocket, absent-mindedly, feeling their faint warmth, each one pulsing like a heartbeat, soft and steady. "Where do I go next?" you ask. He smiles and begins wiping the counter again, slow and rhythmic. When you've finished your drink, step out and follow the smell of rain and music. It will take you where you're meant to be. Perhaps to the hill of wind chimes, or the bridge that only appears when you sigh. Somnolencia decides. You finish your latte, savoring every sip. By the time the cup is empty, the cafe feels dreamlike, the edges of the room blurring slightly, the candlelight softening into haze. You stand, thank the barista, and step outside. The bell above the door gives a single, lazy chime. Outside, the street has changed again. The mist swirls low around your ankles, carrying a distant sound, a gentle tinkling, like hundreds of tiny chimes, swaying in a slow breeze. You breathe in the air. It smells of rain, tea, and something faintly metallic, the kind of scent that comes just before a storm that never truly arrives. You begin to walk, following the sound of the chimes. The golden watch in your pocket beats faintly with each step, matching the rhythm of your breath. Behind you, the door to the cafe that never closed swings shut with a sigh, and the sign above it flickers softly before fading into the mist. Ahead, the road opens toward another dream waiting to be found, a place where the wind hums songs for those who listen slowly enough to hear them. And, with that thought, you keep walking through the silver mist, through the eternal twilight, into the next gentle wonder of Somnolencia. The mist curls gently around your ankles as you follow the faint music drifting through the street. It begins as a whisper, soft metallic notes that seem to ride the breeze, floating between walls and rooftops. Each tone lingers longer than the last, echoing in a way that feels less like sound and more like memory. The scent of rain fades, replaced by something crisp and airy like mountain air mixed with jasmine and the faint sweetness of polished wood. You follow the melody through winding alleys and moonlit archways until the city gives way to open space once more. A gentle slope rises before you, dotted with tufts of wild grass that sway like waves. The air grows clearer, cooler. Above, the sky opens a vast, silvery blue dome, scattered with stars that seem to blink in slow motion. You've reached the Hill of Wind Chimes. The first thing you notice is the sound 1,000 tiny tones weaving together in perfect harmony. They shimmer and overlap, never clashing, as if the air itself is conducting a soft, endless symphony. Each gust of wind brings a new arrangement, high crystalline notes, low copper hums, delicate silver whispers that seem to circle your thoughts before drifting away. You begin to climb. The path is lined with wooden poles, and from each hangs a chime, some made of bamboo, others of metal, some shaped from seashells or bits of colored glass. Each one catches the moonlight differently, scattering it across the hill like spilled stardust. With every step, the melody changes. Sometimes the chimes seem to echo your breathing. Sometimes they pause altogether, letting silence stretch between them like fabric. And in those moments of quiet, even the stars above appear to lean closer, listening. Halfway up, you find a wooden bench carved from a single old tree. You sit, feeling the smooth grain beneath your fingers. The city lies below you, glowing faintly in the mist. You can see the faint trails of smoke from hearths, the soft orbs of lanterns swaying in unison, the quiet geometry of sleep. The wind stirs again. This time, the chime song feels softer, slower, almost like words. You close your eyes, listening closely. The notes rise and fall in a gentle rhythm, repeating patterns that begin to form faint, almost heard phrases. At first, you think you're imagining it, but then the music begins to shape itself into a whisper you can almost understand. Rest now, and remember, the pause is part of the song. You exhale, letting the thought move through you like wind through leaves. It feels true in a way that doesn't need explaining. A small voice interrupts your reverie. Pretty, isn't it? You open your eyes and see a child standing a few steps away. They wear a long tunic, the color of fog, and carry a bundle of small chimes tied together with a ribbon. Their hair glows faintly in the moonlight, and their expression is calm, as if they, too, are made of the hill's music. Do you make these? You ask softly. The child nods. I listen to the wind, and it tells me what kind each place needs. Some winds like to hum, some like to whisper, and some, they lift a small silver chime that trembles with sound so faint it's almost imagined. Some like to dream. You smile. And what about this hill? What is it like to say? The child thinks for a moment. This hill likes to remind people that not everything needs to move fast. It says that sound travels farther when it has time to rest between echoes. They hand you one of the chimes, a small piece of translucent shell tied to a silver string. "This one's for you," they say. It's tuned to your heartbeat. When you take it, it vibrates gently in your hand, not a ringing, but a soft hum that seems to match the rhythm of your pulse. It feels alive. "Hang it wherever you want peace to linger," the child says. "When it sings, it'll sound like your quiet moments. You thank them, and they smile in a way that seems older than they are. Then they skip lightly down the hill, disappearing into the mist, with the faint jingle of their ribbon chimes trailing behind them. You stay there for a long while, watching the stars and listening to the hill breathe. The sound of the chimes folds around you, wrapping you in shimmering waves of serenity. The melody no longer feels random, it feels deliberate, like a lullaby the world has been humming since before language began. You close your eyes again. The air brushes your face with the tenderness of a sigh. Somewhere nearby, one chime sounds softly, the one the child gave you, still cradled in your palm. Its tone is low and gentle, resonating not in your ears, but in your chest. It feels like the universe remembering your name and then forgetting it again, lovingly. When you open your eyes, the mist has thickened. It glows faintly gold and violet, and through it, you can just make out a bridge at the top of the hill, a graceful arch stretching out into the air, its rails strung with even more chimes. They sway together in slow rhythm, their sound deeper, rounder, like the hum of the earth itself. You rise and begin walking toward it. The grass is soft, the wind warmer now, carrying scents of sandalwood and night-blooming flowers. The bridge glows brighter with each step, its structure seeming to waver between dream and solid form. You reach it and pause at the edge, running your hand along its smooth rail. A small plaque near the entrance reads, "The bridge that only appears when you sigh." You smile faintly, and almost without realizing, you exhale a slow, content sigh that rises from somewhere deep inside you. The bridge brightens instantly, the chimes around it singing all at once, not loud, not sudden, just full, as if every note the world had ever held found its way here. You take your first step onto the bridge. The air shifts. The sound wraps around you, every tone a soft embrace. Below, there's nothing but mist and light, like a river of sleeping stars. And as you cross, the world grows quieter still. Your thoughts fade, your breath deepens. Even the pulse of the watch in your pocket slows to match the rhythm of the hill's eternal lullaby. You don't know where the bridge leads, perhaps to another dream, perhaps to the heart of Somnolencia itself, but somehow it doesn't matter. You feel completely safe, completely at ease, completely part of the pause between everything. The wind hums one last note, low and tender. The chimes answer, and the bridge carries you forward softly, endlessly, into the next gentle wonder. The bridge hums beneath your feet, every step releasing a sighing note that drifts into the mist like the memory of a song. The air around you glows faintly, blending silver moonlight with the soft gold of distant lanterns. There is no wind, yet the chimes still move, as if stirred by something more delicate than air, perhaps the quiet rhythm of your own breathing. You pause halfway across and look down. There's no river below, no valley, only a boundless expanse of swirling light. It looks like clouds seen from above, or perhaps dreams seen from below. Each swirl shimmers faintly, revealing glimpses of lives paused in peaceful moments. A baker resting beside a half-kneaded loaf, a scholar asleep mid-sentence at their desk, a small child napping in the shadow of a fruit tree. The whole city seems to float here, suspended between waking and sleep, between word and silence. As you walk further, the bridge widens slightly, and the chimes grow quieter, their notes stretching out like echoes over water. Ahead, a figure appears faint at first, then clearer with each slow step. It's a man dressed in a long coat of deep blue, embroidered with threads that shimmer like moonlight. He's leaning on the railing, gazing into the glowing mist below. When he turns to you, his smile is calm and familiar, as if he's been waiting for you. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he says, his voice low and steady. You're standing where the city exhales. You step beside him, resting your hands on the smooth rail. "What do you mean?" you ask. He gestures toward the mist below. "This is where all the unspoken words go. Every pause, every unfinished thought, every sigh of relief, they gather here. The bridge forms whenever someone truly lets go." You look down again, the light rippling like a living thing. "So it only appears when someone sighs?" He nods. "A real sigh, not one of sadness, but of release. The kind that happens when you stop trying to hold the world upright." You smile softly, feeling the truth in that. The air seems to vibrate faintly, like it agrees. The man takes a small brass chime from his pocket, the shape of a teardrop, delicate and bright. He holds it up to the light. Every sigh leaves an echo. I collect them. Each one is different, a reminder that peace has many voices. He lets it hang from a thin silver thread tied to the bridge rail. When the next breeze passes, it rings a single pure note that lingers long after the sound fades. He looks at you then, his gaze gentle but curious. "Tell me, traveler, what are you carrying that still hasn't rested?" The question lingers in the air like incense. You hesitate not because you don't know, but because the city has made it easier to feel than to say. After a long moment, you answer softly, "I think I've been trying too long to finish everything, to make sense of every thought, to reach every ending. But this place, it's teaching me to stop before the end." He nods, smiling faintly. "Ah, then somnolencia has already begun to work." For a while, neither of you speaks. The bridge hums gently beneath you, the chimes breathing slow, patient tones into the quiet. Then he says, almost to himself, "You know, this bridge isn't always here for crossing. Sometimes it's here just for listening." He steps aside, gesturing for you to stand where he was. "Listen closely," he whispers. You close your eyes. The air moves softly against your skin, carrying with it the faint sound of distant bells, mingling with the heartbeat rhythm of the city. The chimes no longer sound like instruments, they sound like voices, whispering gently, almost forming words. You are safe here. You do not have to be finished to be whole. Rest, rest, rest. A deep calm spreads through you, from your chest outward. It feels like being remembered by the world. When you open your eyes again, the man is still there, watching you with quiet amusement. "You heard it, didn't you?" You nod. "I think I did." He smiles, and for a moment, the light catches the threads on his coat. They shimmer like the flow of time itself. Then you're ready to meet the Keeper of Dreams. She lives just beyond this bridge. "The Keeper of Dreams?" you echo. He nods. "She gathers what's left behind when people rest. Dreams, thoughts, laughter, that fell asleep before being spoken. She keeps them safe until they're needed again. He steps closer, his expression serene. Follow the sound that lingers after the chimes. It will lead you to her garden. You glance ahead. The far end of the bridge glows faintly violet now, mist curling around an arched gate that wasn't there before. The air hums gently, carrying a fragrance of lavender and old paper, the scent of dreams kept in careful hands. When you turn back to thank him, the man is gone. Only his chime remains, ringing softly on the railing, its note blending perfectly with the rest. You walk on, the bridge narrows again, and each step feels lighter, as though you're walking through layers of cloud. At last, you reach the gate. It's made of woven branches and tiny glowing flowers, and though it looks solid, you know instinctively that you could step through it as easily as stepping into a dream. You pause once more, taking a deep, unhurried breath, then exhale slowly, a sigh so soft it might belong to the city itself. The gate opens silently, a warm light spills through, and the air fills with the scent of chamomile and candle wax. You step forward into it, and everything, the bridge, the chimes, even the sound of your own footsteps, melts away into the hush of the next dream. You step through the violet gate, and the air changes completely. It feels denser, yet softer, like stepping into a warm cloud or the inside of a memory. The scent of lavender deepens, mingling with the faint aroma of ink, tea, and something floral you can't quite name. Perhaps jasmine, perhaps the fragrance of pages that have been read and loved 1,000 times. The path beneath your feet glows faintly, as if made of moonlight pressed into stone. Tiny flecks of gold drift in the air around you, rising and falling like dust motes caught in a slow breath. Somewhere ahead, you can hear the sound of running water, not a rush, but a murmur, gentle and even, like the whisper of a dream speaking to itself. The mist parts, and you see it, a vast, circular garden, surrounded by towering hedges of silvery leaves that glisten in perpetual twilight. Everywhere, flowers bloom in colors you've never seen before, shades that seem to exist halfway between blue and gold, pink and silver, dusk and dawn. They sway in a rhythm so subtle that it feels as if the whole garden is breathing with you. At its center stands a great willow tree, its branches trailing like silk ribbons that shimmer with shifting constellations. Beneath it sits a figure in robes of soft white and indigo, her long hair braided with strands of light. She is holding a bowl of still water in her lap, and every so often, she dips her fingertips into it, sending small ripples that scatter glowing fragments of dreams into the air. You know, without needing to be told, that this is the keeper of dreams. She looks up as you approach, her eyes luminous and serene. There's a sense that she has seen you before, perhaps not in this moment, but somewhere in the quiet between your breaths. "Welcome, traveler," she says softly, her voice carrying the warmth of candlelight. "You've come a long way through rest and silence." You bow your head slightly, speaking in a whisper, though you don't know why. "I was told you keep the dreams that people leave behind." She smiles faintly, her hands still tracing the surface of the water. "I do. Every dream, every pause, every sigh finds its way here eventually. Some are small, like a single spark of laughter that slipped away before it could be shared. Others are vast, the kind that linger for years in the hearts of those who forget to rest." She gestures toward the air around you, and now you see them clearly, orbs of soft light drifting among the flowers, each one pulsing gently with color. Some are bright and lively, some faint and quiet, their hues shifting like fading stars. When you listen closely, you can hear faint sounds within each: laughter, the rustle of leaves, the sigh of wind through curtains. "They're beautiful," you whisper. The keeper nods. "They are fragments of what people thought they had lost. But nothing is truly lost in Somnolencia, only waiting for its next gentle awakening." She rises slowly, her robe trailing across the mossy ground like mist. "Come," she says, "walk with me." You follow her along a winding path that circles the great willow. Every few steps, she pauses to cup one of the glowing orbs in her hands, whispering something you can't quite hear. With each whisper, the light brightens and the orb rises higher until it disappears into the canopy above, where the willow's branches hold an entire galaxy of shimmering dreams. Each one joins the stars woven through the leaves, adding to the constellations that move like slow waves of light. "Do they ever fall back down?" you ask quietly. "Sometimes," she replies. "When the dream is ready to return to its dreamer, the city knows when to give it back." You think of the stone from the dream market, the seed pod from the garden of slow time, the watch from the clockmaker. They, too, feel like pieces of something that once drifted away and found their way back to you. The keeper stops by a small pool of water, surrounded by flowering vines. It's perfectly still, reflecting the sky above, though you realize with a start that it's not reflecting this sky. The stars in the reflection are different, older, deeper, slower. You kneel beside it, mesmerized. "This," she says, "is the mirror of gentle remembrance. It doesn't show what you've seen, it shows what you've forgotten how to feel." You gaze into the water. At first, all you see are ripples of light. Then, slowly, shapes form a flicker of warmth, the memory of being held as a child, the scent of rain from years ago, the comfort of sitting in silence with someone you loved. They pass across the surface like drifting clouds, fading one by one until the water clears again. Your chest feels lighter, not from loss, but from release. The keeper smiles, her voice a whisper now. The city of Somnolencia is not a place one finds by chance. It calls those who have forgotten how to rest inside their own hearts. Every sigh, every pause, every dream you've collected, they are reminders of what you already knew before the world became loud. She steps closer and takes your hand gently, her touch cool and grounding. From her sleeve, she withdraws a tiny object, a crystal droplet that shimmers faintly with every color you've seen since arriving here. "This is a piece of your own dream," she says. "The part that led you here. You may take it with you when you leave, though you will not always remember how you received it. That is as it should be. Rest has its own kind of forgetting." You hold it carefully in your palm, its warm pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat, the same steady rhythm that echoes through the city. "When I leave," you begin, then pause. "Will I wake?" She tilts her head thoughtfully. "Perhaps, but waking and dreaming are not so different, are they? You will walk again in the world of movement, but something of this stillness will follow you like a soft bell ringing somewhere behind your thoughts." Her words drift around you, and the air begins to hum again, faint, musical, endless. The light of the garden glows brighter for a moment, then dims, as though preparing for sleep. The keeper steps back toward the willow and sits once more beneath its glowing branches. You've seen much of Somnolencia, she murmurs, but one last place remains the chamber where dreams go to rest before they are reborn. You'll find it beyond this garden, through the gate of last lullabies. You glance toward the far end of the garden, where an arched doorway stands covered in vines of silver bloom. A soft light seeps from within, pulsing like the rhythm of a heartbeat fading into sleep. You look back at the keeper. Her eyes are half closed now, her voice already fading into quiet. "Go on, traveler," she whispers, "and remember, not every ending is an awakening. Some are simply softer beginnings." You bow your head in thanks and turn toward the gate. The flowers brush gently against your hands as you pass, their petals releasing a faint, glowing mist that follows you like a blessing. As you cross the threshold, the world behind you dissolves into a blur of light and memory, and ahead, another hush awaits, deeper and slower than all the rest. The gate of last lullabies closes behind you with a sound like distant waves retreating across sand. The air grows denser, cool, velvety, filled with the scent of sleep itself, lavender, rain on stone, and the faint sweetness of warm milk. You walk along a corridor of arching trees, whose branches meet above you, forming a canopy that glows with quiet light. Each leaf hums softly, like the echo of someone breathing in their dreams. The path slopes gently downward, leading you into a place deeper than silence. Even your footsteps make no sound here. It's as if the world itself has put a finger to its lip. Soon, the trees give way to a vast, open hall carved from smooth stone that shimmers like moonlight. You stop, breath caught. It's as though you've stepped inside the heart of Somnolencia. The air hums with slow energy. At the center of the hall lies a great circular pool, perfectly still, its surface reflecting the faint glow of countless floating lights above. They drift like stars caught mid-dream, each one pulsing with a soft rhythm that matches the quiet thrum in your chest. You approach the edge of the pool and realize the lights above aren't stars at all, they're dreams. Each one floats in slow orbit, descending occasionally to dip into the pool before rising again, renewed. The water shimmers with their colors, soft blues, muted golds, pale rose, deep violet, all blending into a tapestry of slow-moving light. You kneel and touch the surface. It's neither cold nor warm. It feels like touching a thought. The ripples that spread out from your fingertips glow faintly, then fade, leaving behind a deep, endless calm. From across the chamber comes a soft rustle. You turn and see a figure approaching, barefoot and quiet. Their robe is made of woven threads of night sky, stitched with drifting motes of light. Their hair moves as if stirred by an unseen current, and their eyes reflect the pool like mirrors. "Welcome," they say, their voice, a whisper that feels like a breeze, brushing your mind rather than your ears. "I am the keeper of resting dreams. The city entrusted me with the quiet between heartbeats." You bow your head instinctively. "I've come from the keeper of dreams," you say softly. "She told me this was the place where dreams sleep before they're reborn." The keeper smiles, though it's the kind of smile that carries centuries of stillness. "Yes, here, even dreams must rest. Before they return to the minds that made them, they come here to dissolve into silence, so that when they rise again, they can bring peace instead of longing." They motion for you to follow. Together, you walk around the pool's edge. The light reflects on your face, like water and moon combined. As you walk, the keeper gestures upward, where the luminous orbs drift lazily like fish in a celestial sea. Each of these once belonged to someone, they say, a child's wonder, a wanderer's forgotten song, the warmth of two hands that meant to hold each other longer. All of them found rest here before returning to the world. They pause beside a smaller pool, this one, rippling gently, filled with golden liquid light. This is where new dreams are born, they whisper. They begin as sighs, as pauses, as moments when someone finally lets their mind grow still. The city collects those moments and weaves them into the beginning of something kind. You look into the pool, the liquid light swirls, and for an instant, you glimpse faint images within it. A cat stretching by a window, rain tapping gently on a roof, a person smiling just before drifting to sleep. The scenes fade as quickly as they appeared. Dreams of comfort, you murmur. The keeper nods. Somnolencia's gift to the world. For every restless soul, we send one of these back, a reminder that peace still exists, even in small corners. They walk toward a stone altar near the far wall. Upon it rest several objects, a silver key, a sprig of dried lavender, a folded page of soft parchment. These are echoes of travelers who came before you, the keeper says. Each left behind one thing that no longer needed to wake. You reach into your pocket and feel the familiar shapes there. The stone from the dream market, the golden watch, the seed pod, the chime. Their warmth pulses faintly against your fingers, blending together until they feel like one heartbeat. The keeper notices and nods gently. You've carried many pieces of rest. They are ready to sleep now. You step closer to the altar, hesitating for only a moment before placing them down one by one. The stone hums softly. The watch flickers with golden light. The seed pod unfurls a single glowing petal, and the chime sings a final, soft note before falling still. As they rest together, a faint glow surrounds them, merging into a slow swirl of light that rises into the air, joining the others drifting above the pool. The chamber hums, low and deep, like the sound of the earth's own sigh. You've given them peace, the keeper says quietly, and in return, they'll leave something with you. They reach out and touch your forehead with their fingertips. A warmth spreads through you, not heat, but weightlessness, as if 1,000 small worries had just dissolved. For the first time, you realize there's no boundary between your thoughts and the calm air around you. Everything blends together, your breath, your heartbeat, the rhythm of somnolencia itself. The keeper's voice drifts through the haze. When you wake, you'll carry a piece of this silence with you. It will hum softly in your chest. Whenever the world grows too loud, you'll remember that even your own heartbeat is allowed to rest. You feel your eyelids growing heavy, though you're already somewhere between sleep and waking. The lights above drift lower, their soft glow painting ripples across your face. One descends towards you, a small orb of pale blue light. It hovers for a moment, then gently merges with your chest, leaving behind a faint, soothing pulse. The keeper's voice grows quieter now, like a lullaby fading into the distance. Somnolencia never truly ends, traveler. It simply waits until the next time someone remembers how to stop. You sink to your knees beside the pool, feeling no weight at all. The water's reflection wavers stars, light, your own half-smiling face, and then everything begins to blur into one vast, peaceful glow. The chamber hums once more, a single, deep note that stretches into forever, and you let go, completely, falling not down, not away, but inward, into the quiet heart of rest itself. You drift for a long while, or perhaps for no time at all. Here, within Somnolencia's quietest chamber, there are no edges, no before or after. The world feels like a held breath that never needs to end. The pool of dreams has folded itself around you, carrying you gently like a tide that moves slower than thought. At first, all is stillness. Then faint images begin to bloom in the glow. They're soft, translucent, like reflections in water, seen through half-closed eyes. You see the city again, not as streets and rooftops, but as ripples of light, spreading outward in slow motion. Each ripple holds a dream, and each dream hums your name, not the one others call you, but the name that exists only in the language of rest. It's a soundless name, made of breath and belonging. You float within that sound. Your body feels light as mist, but your heart is anchored, deep and steady, to something vast, something kind. It feels as if the entire city is breathing through you. The sigh of the willows, the hum of the wind chimes, the quiet pulse of the clockmaker's watch, the warmth of the woman's cottage hearth, they all move together, slow and perfect, inside your chest. And then, in that stillness, a new sound appears. At first, it's faint, a low, resonant hum, deep as a heartbeat and wide as the sky. It grows, gently, until it fills everything, yet somehow remains soft. The sound feels alive, like the vibration of a distant bell carried on miles of air. From within it, a voice rises, familiar and impossible at once. It isn't a voice you hear, it's one you remember. Sleep does not take you away, little traveler. It returns you to what was always waiting. The words ripple outward, and the glow around you shifts, forming the image of the great willow tree from the keeper's garden. Its branches reach towards you, trailing starlit threads that curl and twine gently around your shoulders. Each touch is a memory you forgot. You'd kept laughter in the rain, the weight of a blanket pulled to your chin, the stillness of an early morning before the world wakes. You realize that Somnolencia isn't a place apart from you. It's within you, the quiet your heart once built when the world became too loud. It was always there, waiting behind every sigh, behind every pause you never allowed yourself to take. The tree's light grows warmer. You hear the faint sound of whispers, not speech, but something older and more intimate. The sound of the city, remembering you, and of you remembering how to rest. The branches move closer, weaving around you until you are cocooned in their glow. You can feel every dream you met, the baker's scent of bread and cinnamon, the market's humming lullaby, the clockmaker's laughter, the barista's gentle smile, the child's wind chime tuned to your heartbeat. All of it vibrates softly, not as memories, but as the very rhythm of who you are when you finally stop trying to be awake. Then, the keeper's voice returns, not from the garden now, but from everywhere at once. She sounds both near and infinite, her tone calm and tender. Somnolencia was never meant to keep you. It was meant to remind you. Rest is not the end of your story. It is the pause that lets it breathe. The branches loosen. You feel yourself rising slow as driftwood, gentle as fog. The pool's light folds beneath you, and the dreams begin to scatter, ascending like sparks into the night. You follow them upward, through layers of warmth and soft air, until the chamber fades away entirely. Now you're floating through what feels like the sky, though it might just as well be thought itself. You can see the city below glowing faintly, as though Somnolencia is exhaling stars into the dark. Each rooftop glimmers, each lantern flickers with the pulse of someone, somewhere, finally allowing themselves to rest. You drift above the bridge that only appears when someone sighs. You see the cafe that never closes, its windows fogged with peace. You see the clockmaker's tower, still and perfect. You see the woman's cottage on the hill, smoke curling lazily from the chimney. Everywhere, life sleeps mid-sentence, and in every unfinished word, there is tenderness. You turn your gaze upward. The sky has opened into a vast sea of deep indigo. Across it moves a slow shimmer, the same pulse that's been within you since the first moment you arrived. And in that shimmer, a truth forms, not as thought, but as knowing. You do not have to finish to be complete. You do not have to move to arrive. You do not have to speak to be heard. You only have to rest. And in resting, remember that everything keeps breathing with you. The hum grows deeper, wrapping around you like the world's softest blanket. You feel yourself being lowered gently, not down into sleep, but deeper into peace. Your breath and the city's breath are one. You inhale the scent of rain and old paper and warm bread. You exhale light. Somewhere far below, a single bell rings. One low, lingering note. It doesn't mark an hour, but a heartbeat. It tells you that the city is still dreaming, and so are you. Your eyes grow heavy, though there is no need to close them. The stars above drift closer, slow and drowsy. You could almost reach them, but you don't need to. They are already resting with you. You feel the final ripple of the keeper's voice, softer now, woven into the dark. Sleep well, traveler. The night has already taken your name and kept it safe until morning. You let go. The hum fades into silence. The silence becomes breath. The breath becomes warmth. And then there is only stillness. Perfect, infinite, luminous stillness. The silence around you lingers so long, so tenderly, that for a moment you wonder if sound itself has fallen asleep. There's no boundary between you and the stillness anymore. It's as if you are floating within the hush that lives just before dawn, that fragile pause when the world holds its breath, unsure whether to keep dreaming or begin again. Slowly, gently, the darkness shifts. It doesn't brighten, not yet, but it softens, turning the deep blue of resting sky into something with the faintest whisper of light. The glow doesn't come from the horizon. It seems to rise from within you, as though the city's peace has found a home beneath your ribs. The first sound you hear is not birdsong, nor bells. It's your own breathing, deep and steady, echoing faintly through the mist. Each exhale feels like a ripple spreading through invisible water. The air responds in kind, expanding, warming, sighing with you. You open your eyes, though perhaps they were never truly closed, and see that you are lying in a meadow of tall silver grass. The blades sway in slow rhythm, their tips glowing faintly, catching the faint light of a sky still unsure whether it wants to be morning. Tiny white flowers bloom among them, folding and unfolding, like they, too, are deciding whether to wake. You sit up, and the world hums softly. There's no sharpness, no noise, only the faint tremor of the universe remembering motion. Above, clouds drift lazily, each one tinted rose and cream, like brushstrokes on half-dry paint. In the distance, you see the spires of Somnolencia, their edges hazy as dreams. Lanterns still burn in the windows, though the light is gentler, now less gold. more silver. The city looks like a thought the world has not quite finished thinking. Beside you, something glints in the grass. It's the small crystal droplet the keeper of dreams gave you. You pick it up, and it hums faintly, a heartbeat of light that grows brighter with your pulse. Inside it, you see flickers of everything you've touched since arriving. The misty gate, the clockmaker's tower, the willow, the cafe, the hill of wind chimes. They glow like memories, half remembered, yet wholly real. You stand slowly, feeling the soft weight of the city's stillness wrapped around you. The air tastes clean and sweet dew, bread, and something faintly like starlight. Every breath feels like a promise kept. From somewhere beyond the meadow comes the faint sound of movement, not footsteps, but something gentler, like fabric brushing the wind. You turn and see the old man who welcomed you at the city gate on your first evening. His wide hat still droops over his eyes, and the same small cup of tea balances perfectly on his palm. He looks exactly as you remember him, except perhaps his smile is a little softer now, as though he's glad to see that you finally learned what the city meant to teach. "Ah," he says, voice low and kind. "You found your way back to the edge. Few make it through all the pauses, you know." You smile. "I think I stopped trying to make it through. I just started resting." "Exactly," he says, nodding. "That's the secret. You don't cross Somnolencia by walking, you drift, by remembering how to stop." He looks out over the glowing meadow, the city beyond it, wrapped in pale mist. "Most people think dawn is when the world wakes," he says. "But here, dawn is when the night finally remembers to rest. That's why we call this place the dawn that forgot to wake. It's not the end of night. It's the dream's softest exhale." You take a deep breath, watching the faint pink light slip gently across the horizon. It doesn't grow brighter, only warmer, like the slow return of heartbeat after stillness. The old man sips from his tea and continues, "When you leave here, and you will, you'll find that the world outside moves faster than this one, but you'll carry the rhythm of somnolencia with you. You'll hear it in the pause between sentences, in the quiet between thoughts. It'll remind you that peace doesn't live in the hours it lives, in the pauses between them." He glances at you then, his eyes gleaming under the brim of his hat. "You've learned to pause mid-sentence, haven't you?" You laugh softly. "I think I'm still mid-sentence now." He grins. "Good. Stay there a while. That's where the dreams like to sit." You look around once more, the mist rolling low across the field, the city's chimes whispering far away, the glow of dawn resting like a hand over everything. And for the first time, you realize that somnolencia isn't asleep anymore, nor is it awake. It's both, perfectly balanced in the breath between worlds. And so are you. The old man sets his teacup down on the grass and straightens his hat. "Well," he says, "the city always says goodbye in its own way. Close your eyes, traveler. Let it find yours." You obey. The hum grows louder again, though it isn't sound, it's something deeper, like being sung to by the world itself. The ground beneath you shifts slightly, like the rhythm of a rocking cradle. You can feel somnolencia moving beneath your heartbeat, the whole city sighing one last time. "Rest, traveler." The wind seems to whisper, "Rest, and carry the quiet with you." You take one final, deep breath. When you exhale, the air fills with light, not dazzling, not blinding, just warm and endless. The meadow fades, the city softens, the sound of the chimes becomes the sound of your own breath, steady and calm. You realize you are neither leaving nor staying. You are simply resting in a pause so perfect that even time forgets to measure it. And somewhere, as the last glow of twilight folds into gold, Somnolencia sighs, content, éternel, cradling every unfinished sentence in its arms. You drift through the glow, like a leaf carried on the slowest tide. There is no sense of up or down, only motion that feels like rest. You are not falling, and you are not rising. You are simply floating, as if the world has decided to hold you for a while longer. The light around you softens from gold to cream, from cream to a pale dawn blue. It hums faintly, the same tone that has followed you since the moment you first entered. Somnolencia, that single, perfect note that feels like the sound of a soul breathing. You begin to realize this hum is not the city's song, it's yours. It always was. Slowly, the glow thins into soft mist. You feel the first cool brush of air against your skin. Somewhere far away, a door opens. Though you don't hear it, you feel it, like the gentle opening of thought after a long dream. The scent that greets you is impossibly familiar. Warm sheets, rain on the window, the faintest whisper of tea and candle wax. You recognize it as the scent of home, not a place, but the peace of belonging to yourself. You open your eyes. The room around you glows faintly with morning. Pale light filters through curtains, painting patterns across the walls. The sound of distant birdsong drifts through the window, patient and unhurried. For a moment, you stay still, unsure whether you are awake or still dreaming. But then you feel it, the weight of the blanket, the softness beneath you, the gentle rhythm of your own breath. And in that rhythm, you hear it again. Somnolencia's hum, quiet but steady, pulsing deep inside your chest. You sit up slowly. The air feels different, lighter, quieter. It's as if the noise of the world has been turned down, leaving only space. Space for thought, for breath, for peace. On your bedside table, something glimmers. The tiny crystal droplet from the Keeper of Dreams lies there, faintly glowing. Next to it sits a cup of tea, still warm, though you don't remember making it. Its scent is the same as the cafe's moonlit latte, honey and lavender, with that soft undertone of starlight. You smile, a slow, sleepy smile, and take a sip. It tastes exactly as it did in the dream, calm, quiet, and infinite. You glance toward the window. Outside, the world moves gently, the wind stirring the trees, a bird hopping along the fence, sunlight breathing across the ground. Everything feels slower, as though the city's rhythm has followed you back, softening the edges of time. You close your eyes again, just for a moment, and in that moment, you see it not with sight, but with memory. The misty gates of Somnolencia, the dream market with its sigh-filled jars, the library of unfinished sentences, the ferryman's quiet smile, the hill of wind chimes whispering your name, the clock that forgot to count hours, the keeper's glowing willow, and the bridge that only appeared when you sighed. They flicker like lanterns, one by one, then fade, leaving only warmth behind. The warmth of being part of something gentle, something endless, something perfectly unhurried. You whisper a thank you to the silence, not out loud, the kind of thank you that moves only in breath, because you know that the city still exists, somewhere inside you. Every time you close your eyes, every time you pause between thoughts, every time you let yourself rest mid-sentence, the hum inside your chest grows softer now, blending into your heartbeat until you can't tell them apart. You lie back down, pulling the blanket to your chin. Outside, A new day is beginning, but it doesn't demand your attention. The world can wait. The keeper's voice lingers in your mind, quiet as dawnlight on water. Not every waking means leaving. Sometimes the dream follows. You smile. Your eyes drift closed again. Not because you're tired, but because the peace feels too beautiful to let go. The line between dream and waking dissolves completely, and for a long, slow moment, maybe forever, you simply breathe. In, out, a perfect, wordless rhythm. The air around you hums once, softly, like a sigh across time, and then Somnolencia whispers its last words. You are home now. Rest easy, traveler of pauses. The light fades into a warm glow. The sound fades into stillness, and sleep, real, tender, and infinite, curls around you like an old friend. The story ends exactly where it began, in the quiet,